Oh yeah, we're back. The three friends. The as they say in Hangover, the three best friends that anyone could ever have, and the three best friends. Welcome back to Movies Down Memory Lane. I'm Stephen Billings. This is Dan Skip Allen, Andrew Cabral. We're here to talk another movie that has entered one of our memories that has just not left, and it's just been a lifetime of fun and enjoyment and laughter and sadness. This time it's my turn. We'll get to that movie in a second, but how's everybody doing this week?
I'm doing good. Just having a big, busy. Well, I'm not really doing a lot. I'm kind of taking it easy this week.
Yeah.
I got a lot of screenings the next 2 weeks. So this week I was taking it easy, just watching Survivor.
Yeah. If you don't know, Dan has a show that he's doing with his twin brother. It is a Survivor kind of recap show going all the way back to the beginning, leading up to the 50th season of Survivor. So if you want to go check that out, you go to his brother's channel. Was it David T. Allen, right?
That's it.
That's it. So if you want to go check out them talking about the many seasons of Survivor, kind of recapping some of the big moments and big characters, winners and things, go over and check that out. But Andrew, how's it going, man?
Going well. So it is, the 4th of July weekend here. So a lot of people are out celebrating, I would say. A lot of fireworks going off.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you hear any shots going off, it ain't somebody trying to get to us. It's probably people celebrating more.
There is, from last night being the 4th, from like 8 o'clock to like 2 in the morning, just constant fireworks everywhere. So if you hear them, that's what it is.
And the dog barks because it wonders what the heck is going on.
Yeah. And this is the East Coast. So this is like, where America started on the East Coast, so people are they take it really seriously over here.
Oh, yeah. Especially up here in the Northeast, the start of the American Revolution,
that's right.
They take it very seriously here. I think we have the oldest 4th of July parade every single year. That's in Rhode Island. It's been around for like hundreds of years or however long. So it's a big thing up here. So people go kind of all out. Plus, it was 4th of July was on a Friday this year, so people took off the Thursday beforehand to start celebrating early and with the weekend too. So it's one of those years. Has nothing to do with what's going to be happening here on Movies Down Memory Lane, but just an interesting.
Okay. We're friends. Hey, the part of this show is not only talking about the movies we love that have had an effect on us, but just having our little friendly talk every couple weeks.
Right. And yes, stuff going on here in the Chasing Labels world. We will have the new fresh episode Monday. Like I said during Unwatched Pile, it is the summer sales season. Apparently, everyone is having sales, so the temptation to spend money on things is always out there. It's always out there. People are taking advantage of the summer heat and bringing those sales with them.
They sure are.
And
so keep up with that. Go over to watch Andrew's. He's going to be recapping a lot of Vinegar Syndrome stuff on that episode, a lot of stuff that's been announced recently. And on top of that, before we get into our film for this episode, merch store I've been advertising a little bit is going to be dropping soon. I'm working on, I want to get a few more samples in to make sure that everything's looking kind of tight. I want to make sure it's looking good. So I'm waiting for a few more things to come in the mail, but I do got a couple things here. This is another version. This is another color of the Chasing Label shirt here.
I like that color.
And the back has got the catchphrase, of course, that me and Andrew used to say. And Andrew still does it on his own, but keep on watching them movies is on the back. So I'm hearing fireworks. Sorry. I was wondering what the noise
really?
was.
Already?
I heard a noise and it almost sounded like somebody banging on a door in my house. And then I heard it again and it was fireworks. So we got that. And then another thing I posted on it the other day that I got in the mail was this mug that is kind of one of the official, because Chasing Labels is going to have its official merch through this, but the product line is called B-Roll Bandits. So this is one of the first B-Roll Bandits things here, and it's a Michael Bay mug. Michael Bay kind of day is the slogan on here, the catchphrase on here, and it's got a guy that kind of looks like Michael Bay, walking away from an explosion with robots and helicopters and cars, which is does a
that's
lot.
Michael Bay in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, drinking my coffee with that tonight. And we got a lot more other things that I've got designed that I'll be releasing periodically as I quality check them and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so that's it for the housekeeping. And so let's get into the show this week. So this week it is my pick. And I was really excited to do this. I've been like, as soon as I thought about this one, I was like, God, I can't wait to talk about this movie because it's been honestly maybe a few years since I even watched it, which is kind of weird because I used to watch this so much. I used to watch this film routinely. And that is the 2007 film Disturbia, directed by DJ Caruso, starring Shia LaBeouf. This is kind of right in the breakout of Shia LaBeouf. This right around Transformers, I believe, was like right before this, if I'm correct.
Same year.
Or was it the same year? Okay, makes sense. So this was kind of I mean, he was already kind of famous for Even Steven. He was on that show, but he hadn't really broken into film yet. So this was one of the breakout movies for him. And this doesn't even the thing that's cool about this movie is it's kind of a crazy ensemble cast. You got Carrie-Anne Moss plays his mom in this film, she's like vastly underused, but she's in this film. David Morse plays the Mr. Turner, the neighbor. That is the villain of the story. Viola Davis plays a detective in the story. I mean, like Matt Craven, who plays his father, is in like a lot of well-known character actors are all through this movie. You're like, this is just a small thriller. It's like, well, they all showed up for this Shia LaBeouf kind of thriller, intro into film movie. So, yeah, that is our movie that I picked. Because to me, for a lot of reasons, this movie is important to me. Not only did I really love this movie when it came out, and it really made me like take interest in wanting to see what went forward for Shia LaBeouf, because I thought even in this movie he shows a lot of ability. But the introduction to kind of a filmmaker for me in a way. We'll get into that. But before we do, let's talk to the guys. So tell us about your feelings on Disturbia. Dan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a huge Alfred Hitchcock fan, so
you're jumping the gun on me, but okay. All right.
Well, I mean, that's what I have to go off of. I'm sorry. I'm a massive fan of Rear Window, and when I heard about this, the synopsis of this, and then I went and I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is Rear Window in a nutshell. It's a modern take. Christopher Reeve did a version of Rear Window back in the 90s, and it wasn't that good. But, this now was a great update to Rear Window for me. And it really, like, when you do remakes of classic films, not that classic films need to be remade, this is the kind of thing you do with a classic film remake. You don't copy it scene for scene like Psycho, what's his face did for Psycho? Like, come on,
Gus
man.
Van Sant.
Gus Van Sant, what are you doing, Gus Van Sant?
Well, I think like I agree with you to an extent, but I think that movie was an experiment.
Yeah,
it was an experiment for other reasons other than trying to be something that sells.
It didn't need to be color. Psycho did not need to be color. Part of what was great about Psycho, it was in black and white. Colorizing.
I think the colorizing was part of the experiment.
Yeah, it didn't need to be colorized. But
we can get into that discussion.
Yeah, that's another whole discussion. But yeah, this is, I mean, you get a young star who's on the rise. He did Holes, Transformers, and then this, and it was like he was starting to come up in the industry. And you had some really good, like you said, good character actors like Carrie-Anne Moss, which you didn't see her in a lot of different things. David Morse was kind of before the really where he started doing more stuff. He really still hasn't done a lot in his career. If you look at his, he's done a little bit of that. He was in George Washington and John Adams.
That tells you that even somebody like even somebody that does not do a lot of work, but when you do see them and you recognize them, and it tells you that everything they do is like,
well, you recognize him, you say, hey,
he's
that's
doing good
David
work.
Morse from Disturbia. You know what I mean?
I mean, honestly, when I think of David Morris, I actually, funny enough, I don't know why, but was the 16 Blocks? I think about 16 Blocks for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know why, but it's the movie I think about when I think about.
I love him in this. I love him as George Washington and John Adams. You know, those are the two that I always think about with him. But yeah, I mean, it really had that same feel of where he was in his apartment. In the beginning, you say to yourself, what the heck is going on with this kid? You're like, I don't even care about this kid at the beginning of this movie, what this kid's doing and all the stuff he's in. And then when the people, hey, you need to start figuring out something to do with your time, and you see him start playing video games, and then it was just like, wait a minute.
Well, how about we'll get it. Well, we'll have I can't wait to have a discussion about that. But there is another angle to this, and it's something I kind of discovered through watching some of the features on this. That we can talk about when it comes to genre and stuff like that. But Andrew, thoughts on Disturbia?
Yeah, so similar to Steven, since Steve and I are very similar to the same age, probably saw it around the same time.
This was the year I graduated high school.
Okay, so I graduated in 2006, so I would have been 1 year removed from high school, around 20 years old, close to 20 years old. So put yourself in, I guess, that mindset. And of course, I had grown up, because even Stevens, I think, ran from 1999 to like 2003 or something like that. It was one of those things where all of the Disney Channel shows from that like 90s time period, late 90s, early 2000s, only ran for 3 seasons. And
sounds
even
like
Stevens
sounds
was
like a Netflix thing. Sounds like
Netflix got that.
Because I think the idea
God.
You could I guess you only had to pay them in a certain bracket for those 3 seasons, and then when it went past that, I think you had to pay the actors and everybody a little bit more money. I think that was kind of the thing. And then there's always a lot of turnover with Disney stuff back in that time. There was like even Stevens, the famous Jet Jackson, the Lizzie McGuire show with Hilary Duff. Those were all around the same era. So I knew who Shia LaBeouf was, and Shia LaBeouf was a standout on Even Stevens. You could tell that he was like better than not better than everyone else, but the show started to kind of center around him as being the character that everybody wanted to watch. So him as an actor was, I guess, the one, if anybody was going to break out of that show, it was going to be him, and he was really.
I've never seen it ever.
Really,
I've never seen the show
because it was in that same era. So once he broke out of that, he started doing movies. I think before this he was in Constantine.
It was in
Keanu
Holes
Reeves.
too. And funny enough, I did see both of them movies too. So I think I really noticed him in Disturbia, but before that I did see Holes and I did see Constantine. So
any smaller roles, but the smaller roles, not lead roles. But this was one of the first time when he was leading a movie. Holes, he was the lead of it, but that was a Disney movie,
and it's an ensemble. It's an ensemble.
Yeah, that's more of an ensemble thing. But this one, he was really kind of stepping out and front and center. So I probably saw. I know I didn't see it in the theater. I probably saw it on DVD. Because I remember I had the DVD. I think I traded in the DVD years ago, or I took the DVD and put it in this case. One of the two things. Because Steven, does yours have a DVD in it?
No, mine's just a Blu-ray.
Okay, so that's probably what I did.
The dreaded Eco case.
Oh God, the dreaded Eco case. So what I used to do is when I was transitioning from DVD to Blu-ray, is I would buy 2-disc cases and take the artwork out of the regular Blu-ray case, take the Blu-ray, take the DVD disc and make my own combo packs. Basically, that's what I did. So I must have done it with Disturbia back in the day. Heck, I still even keep the inserts. I told you about this. I'm a purist, I guess.
I don't know if purist is the word. I think it's crazy person.
Pack rat.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I even have the inserts that say, "Hey, make sure you update your firmware on your Blu-ray player, or else this disc may not play." I still have.
I might need this one day.
Who knows? Who knows? But so I probably saw Disturbia on DVD because around 2007 is when I started collecting DVDs. So I probably bought it when it was a new release back then. and I watched it, and I hadn't even seen Rear Window. I didn't really know anything about Hitchcock at that
Yeah.
time. I didn't really, know anything about classic movies at that time, really. It wasn't until a couple of years later that I got into all of that. So this was my first exposure to this type of voyeur-esque horror thriller type of movie.
Yeah.
So that's where things kind of started with me with Disturbia.
Yeah. And so, yeah, kind of breaking into kind of both sides here. I mean, I'm in both camps of like the Hitchcock aspect of this is what was, I think, the thing that has created such a longevity for this movie for me, because I'd already seen Psycho. I think that Psycho is kind of like a lot of people's gateways into Hitchcock, even if they don't know they're watching Hitchcock yet. And that's what happened with me. I'd seen that movie. And then I think I saw Rear Window shortly after. And then at some point later, I saw Disturbia, and I was like, wait a second, this is like that other movie. And then I went back and was like, who directed Rear Window? Hitchcock. Hitchcock's this big deal, and then I started getting into more and more. So that I think is one of the most important factors of this the contribution this film's done for me, is that it introduced me to one of the great filmmakers of all time through osmosis, through its inspiration to other filmmakers.
I love it.
But yeah, and that's I think what we all aspire as film lovers to do, is to discover more and more through other movies. That's the best way to do it. And then also what I learned through the features as well is that the filmmakers actually kind of looked at this. I never, at least in what I saw them mention really a lot of Hitchcock. They didn't really mention Hitchcock. They just said that this was supposed to be a thriller, but they kept saying that they wanted to take this premise and kind of mesh it with a John Hughes feel, which I think they accomplish. I think that the comedy of it is very John Hughes, very awkward teens, a male gaze watching a girl. He wants the girl. He does what, it's got that teen angle to it that isn't quite Rear Window, that you take, that there is it's a more adult film. Rear Window is an adult film watching adults do adult things. And then this one, it's a teen being a teen and watching adults do adult things. And so it's got that, it adds a factor to it, a layer to it, in the sense of like, scare factor. Like a teenager's caught in this scenario, it's a little more scary than an adult. But of course, in Rear Window, he's like got his legs broken, so he physically can't move around. But in this, he's just kind of confined. Yeah, he's confined.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a spoiler, I guess. I don't know if we would consider
that's
it a spoiler.
Not a spoiler to the movie. That's in the trailer.
I was just going to mention why he was confined to his house. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
we'll
just say he hit his teacher for a reason.
He's legally confined to his home.
Yeah, he's legally confined.
So he's got one of them, anklet things that goes off if he leaves the premises by a certain amount of feet. So he has to stay in his yard.
And the difference between Rear Window and this is, in Rear Window, it's one window, and he sees into all these different apartments, alleys, little park area type things. And this, he can go in a different room in his house and see a different angle and see different views. Yeah. And that's the difference between Rear Window and this. So I thought that was cool, because you go to his father's office, you see a different angle. You go to his room, you see it. You go to the kitchen, you see, all your different angles. I always thought, oh, that's cool. You get to see different angles from different rooms. So it makes for more of an interesting dichotomy than just sitting in one room looking out a window and looking down, looking left, looking right, looking, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rear Window is a little bit more segmented. Like you can have a moment, and then you can cut, and then you can be like, this is the next day. Yeah, they don't quite do it like that in Disturbia. It's a little more smoother. It's a little there is like one good montage in the movie where they like the beginnings of this whole stuck at the house starts to get to him. He gets that cabin fever of not having, his mom cuts his iTunes, he cuts his video, his Xbox Live off, and so he's getting bored.
What a reference to 2007.
I was going to say, this is before all the advantages of the technology. It was like on the cusp. You
Yeah,
know,
like there were no
Pyramid of
streaming,
Twinkies.
no
yeah,
much of that. Like the internet back then was kind of just used for like online gaming, and then of course surfing the internet.
yeah,
This was like even like YouTube was just a thing like around 2006. So it's
yeah.
not like that's like the era of the internet we're talking about here. It's not like now. So it's not like
Yeah.
he could find other ways to entertain himself.
And to be
Yeah.
honest, this stuff gets old. If you stay inside long enough, the stuff that you do all the time would get old too. I mean, it really would,
Mm.
I think. Because we need human interaction. I think we need to be around people more than people think. But not only than that, like, I think, he just, meets this. He gets he's got obviously a internal conflict in this movie, that is the reason he's where he's at. And he's still dealing with that, him and his mom. And, I think the supporting cast really turns this up a notch too. Because I think Shia LaBeouf in this movie is really good. I think he's got the charisma. He's got the comic timing. Just little things like little facial ticks and like little things that from seeing it so many times that I'm like, he was a star. Like he was going to be big. And of course, personal things have kept Shia LaBeouf from probably being an even bigger star. But we won't get into that here. But his supporting cast, the girl that he is
Sarah Romer.
Yeah, Sarah Romer, who I don't know really has played in much else
I looked
outside
her
of
up.
this.
No,
Yeah.
not much. Yeah.
She's solid. I mean, she's
Yeah.
great. No, she's okay, but she's that girl next door type. And she plays it well, I think. And to me, the best friend, played by Aaron Yo.
Yeah, he was funny.
He is funny. They must have been doing some ad libbing in there, because there's just a lot of the one line he says in the movie I still say today. When he's they're trying to talk to the girl about who the neighbor they think is killing somebody, and they're trying to explain it, and he's like, everything fits together. It's cohesive. It's when I heard that word cohesive for the first time, and I was like, cohesive, huh? And then I started using cohesive a lot.
But he was also involved in a whole nother technique within the context of the movie, and that's what's it called with Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity.
So there's a couple times in the movie where we get like kind of a found footage.
Yeah, that was weird.
Style, and because home video cameras are getting better, and people would have them at home more during that time, and so yeah, there's an angle where they will use video cameras to help each other. Like one guy's trying to break into the house, he's like videoing it and then the other person's like keep an eye out for the person to return home, and of course Shia LaBeouf can't leave, so he has to send people out to do things. Similarly to Rear Window, blanking.
Jimmy
Stewart can't.
Grace
leave,
Kelly.
So he sends Grace Kelly out a few times to do a few things, but once she gets involved, so yeah, I mean it is definitely a Rear Window thing, but it is also I think got that John Hughes vibe that I think they were kind of going for. And yeah, any questions for me? I'm just talking. Usually I'm the interviewed.
I want to know what you've seen this so many times. Rewatching, were you still like just shocked at the beginning of this movie? Because rewatch, I haven't seen it probably in 15 years, and rewatching, I was shocked by the beginning of this movie.
Okay, so
because I hadn't seen it in so long.
Yeah, okay. Spoilers. We're gonna spoil from this point on. We're gonna talk some spoilers, because there's just no doing this show. It's hard to really get into it without spoiling some things. So if you haven't seen Disturbia, just stop right here and then go watch it. So here we go. Spoilers moving ahead. So at the beginning of the movie, Shia LaBeouf is on a trip with his father, who's a writer. He works from home, blah, blah, blah. And so they're on this nice like fishing trip. It looks like they're in like Utah or Montana. It's middle America. It's beautiful. And then they're on their way home. They're driving home and they get in a car accident. And the initial car accident does not kill them, but it's the next car that hits them after they've crashed that kills his father. And and to me, what sells this whole scene is just Shia LaBeouf's acting, because you don't see the dad. Like, like they're both upside down in the car and they're both alive. And then Shia LaBeouf sees the car that's about to hit them again. And he's like, Dad. And then they get hit again. And then Shia LaBeouf gets out of the car and comes around the car to see if his dad's okay. And you just see Shia LaBeouf's face, and he's just in shock. And that's how the movie begins. And it's just like you said, like a gut punch. Like it's like, and it's all sold on the acting, the chemistry between the father and son, them just playing around, talking to each other, being father and son. And just that small, like 5 minutes really sets up the movie.
Yeah.
What do you think about that intro, Andrew? I see you over there.
Yeah, it's always been kind of I mean, it plays on the classic trope of trauma can dictate, the actions of the rest of your life, because that's literally the first kind of event that happens, and then that kind of dictates why the Shia LaBeouf character acts out, why he becomes a very moody, very angry teenager, with good reason. Obviously,
Sure.
Watching your parent horrifically die in front of you, all of a sudden, will change anybody.
Sure.
So right away, we are put into kind of his perspective. You know what I mean?
And
we
he's
can
the
relate,
one.
not relate, but we can feel what he's feeling.
Well, the way it's filmed and the way the whole scene is done, I think it feels very in the moment. And like, he's the one. You think about just the perspective, like he's the one that was driving, so he probably feels responsible, even though it was not his fault. Like, this dude's like passing him on the highway. It's kind of a windy road. This guy like speeds past him, and the guy's up ahead of him, and then somebody's like changing a tire on the side of the road, and that guy that sped past him swerves out of the way of almost hitting that person on the side of the road, and then leaves them, without any time to get out of the way.
Right.
So it wasn't his fault, but of course, anytime it wasn't your fault, it still makes you still feel guilty, and you felt like it's your fault. So he's probably dealing with guilt and just, the trauma of the event itself. I mean, it's just not something that's easy to get over. And then the main part of the movie takes a year. It's a year later. So,
What to me was like the relatability factor for you, for why this movie resonated with you so much as a obviously as an adult now. You're in your mid-30s. You're a high school kid back then. Was it just the high school kid living in his house and being sequestered there, eating Twinkies, playing video games, having a good old time, and not having a care in the world? What was it about? Because obviously this movie was when you were in high school.
Yeah, I was just getting out of high school that year. I think the biggest impact for me was the discovery of Hitchcock. The cinema thing is the biggest thing. But on just this movie's level, why I find it so entertaining is I think it's the performances more than anything. I think Shia LaBeouf, and I think his friends, and I think, maybe the experience of being a young person. And there's, just say it, there's some horniness in this movie. It's a horny movie.
Oh, of course.
And a lot of it.
Of course. I mean, it is there's teen angst in this movie.
Yeah.
Similar to a lot of the other teen angsty movies of that time. We're talking mid to late 2000s. There were a lot of those types of movies around that time.
Superbad came out,
things like that. There's things every generation kind of gets those. Pretty much from like the 80s on. Like every generation kind of gets these types of movies. Yeah. This just happened to have a horror twist on it, or a thriller.
There's a thriller twist to it, and I think just the genre meshing for me was appealing, but like I think it's the characters that were appealing. I think a lot of times for me, early films that are not, maybe they're not the greatest. This is like a 3.5, 4-star movie. It's not greatest movie ever. But it connected with me. Most of the time, these movies connect with me because of the characters. So I really liked. Now, some people will say, well, because I've even read this from some reviews, he does a lot of creepy things. He's creepy in this movie. He's like just like looking at her and like creepy and look. Sure, you can take that perspective, and I can understand that.
Put
But-
yourself in the mindset of someone that age.
Exactly.
Come on, the context is important here.
And
Let's not-
someone
let's
that's
not-
sequestered who can't leave. What
Exactly.
would
Well,
you do
yeah,
if
sure.
you're
You can.
stuck somewhere and you can't? You'd look out your front door. You'd look out your window because you don't have anything else to do.
People watch all the time.
Yeah.
Now, but let me say this, and I'm not saying this is everybody, but I would say a lot of people do things when they know that nobody's going to catch them doing it. They do it because nobody
Yeah.
else will know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
that's the
watching a
Hitchcock
girl,
movie.
like watching a girl in her bathing suit swim is something that a lot of people probably do when nobody knows that they are not. You know what I mean? Like it's stupid to deny that.
Like taking
Everybody,
a leak in the
it's-
woods. Like taking a leak in the woods. There's nobody around. I'll take a leak in the woods.
sure,
Right?
sure, yeah. That's not quite as like invasive. That's not.
Yeah. That's yeah.
That's
We're
not
talking about
that's not involving other people.
yeah.
But
Unless you're watching somebody do it, that's a little
I'm
big
not
on the
saying it's
story.
okay.
You know
I'm not
what I
saying
mean?
it's okay. I'm just saying that to think that everybody is squeaky clean and that we always do the right thing and we always turn away when some girl's changing her clothes. That's teenage angst. That's teenage hormones.
That's not really reality.
that's
I mean,
not
we
reality.
like it to be reality, but it's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
That's also very kind of that's a very modern thing that Steven's bringing up because I've noticed it a lot. I'm on the internet like 15 hours a day, so I read all kinds of stuff. But
Super healthy. Yeah.
yeah, not really. But like, there's this kind of modern perspective when watching movies that we want our main characters to be like squeaky clean. We want our main characters to do all the right things, say all the right things, make all the right decisions.
Well,
And when they don't,
that's what
people
people
kind
want.
of freak out about it.
But that's what people want in people in reality. That's the
Yeah.
problem. That not even just movie characters. That's our celebrities, our people that are in the spotlight. Everybody has to be squeaky clean or they're fucking canceled for something. You know what I mean?
Right. And
that's
and the reality is life is not, black and white. Life is not, one side or the other. It's very gray.
yes.
Very gray. There's great characters in movies, the great characters in real life. People make good decisions, people make bad decisions. It kind of goes, all over the
Sure.
place, really, and that's kind of how life is. So
Yeah.
movies kind of reflecting that makes them a little more accurate to reality. Now people want to make the argument that movies are not supposed to be reality; they're supposed to be, fantasy and whatnot. That's a whole big
that's
thing.
not that's I would never look at movies, and this is a debate me and Dan have had. We've talked about this. This is a whole other subject. I would never look at movies as being something that should be looked at as like fact or but like they're supposed to reflect our reality, and so they're inspired, and we try our best to reflect our reality as best we can. So when a movie decides to take that stance to be like, look, it's okay to see this teenager kind of being creepy. I mean, we are creepy. We're being led by hormones. We're being led by things that we're not thinking with our brain. We're not thinking about whether this is right or wrong. Now, there are moments where he looks and he's like, and then he goes back and he's like, okay, I want to look, and that's being a kid. That's being.
And am I wrong? In The Graduate, didn't they do a little bit of that in The Graduate?
I'm sure they did. They've been doing that in movies forever. It's normal.
Yeah. And
It's
the other
normal.
thing is, we all have Facebook pages. We all have Instagram pages. You're telling me that you don't scroll down Facebook and see what people's doing, or go through Instagram and see what's going on it? Come on now.
It's interesting that you say that because social media has kind of made that a thing where like everybody's kind of sharing their lives, sharing secrets, sharing their personal things, share what they're eating, share what they're doing. So like we can't help but like kind of other people's lives.
I can't even be creepy anymore and watch you do that. You're just gonna post it.
There's not a lot. Granted, there's this whole kind of argument to be made about whether people's online personas are their real life personas or if it's just an act and all that kind of stuff. That's a whole big other thing. But I'm just saying people are way more out in the open now in terms of just sharing information than before. Specifically visual information, whether it be Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. People sharing their location. Hey, I'm going on vacation to this place, or I'm going to watching a movie here or whatever. Everybody's really kind of more open about those little small details that they weren't open about even when this movie came out, because there wasn't really a social media thing back then. I mean, Facebook was relatively new back in 2007. MySpace was still a thing. Twitter wasn't around. Instagram wasn't around, or
They didn't,
TikTok or
yeah,
anything like that.
they didn't even use that as a crux in the film. Like it was mostly just texting. It was the only, like way they were really, phone stuff was the only thing that they were communicating.
That was relatively new.
Yeah,
at the time.
So
Yeah, and you still had to
What's
pay for
wrong?
texting back then.
Yeah.
Most of us did. Most of us still had to pay for minutes back in the
Yeah,
mid 2000s.
Yeah.
That's something that people don't really do anymore at all, unless you're I don't know, like getting a burner phone. You're like a Jason Bourne or something. And you want to just get out of
Andrew's
there.
other life.
Yeah, and Batman clearly.
Yeah, of
All
course.
right, I got one more for you. What do you think about the house? Okay, so you got this guy's house, and he's got this nice looking house. He's got the garage. Then he's got this like psycho killer like room in the middle of the house. Then he's got like a basement with bodies. It's like, come on now.
I mean, look,
the extra mile here. DJ
yeah, sure.
Caruso.
They definitely did. It's one of them things where, like if I'm being like, if I'm taking myself out of like this being something I grew up with and like
far-fetched.
Well, that stuff now, I don't care about that. But my thing is like, what makes this movie, what would have made this movie better in an objective way is if we had actually gotten a little more from like a little more history on the David Morris, like who else he might have killed. Really, the other one is Carrie Ann Moss. If we had got more of her, more about her side of like how she's dealing with her husband's death, like
we
a little
about
more
David
of that.
Morris on the news. We see it because they're talking about it on the news in the car, and the news anchor's like giving some of the story. Then he changes the channel. It's like, okay, I guess that's our information about the killer that's next door.
But what I'll say is the opposite argument of that is that they probably wanted to make Shia LaBeouf's character feel more confined. And so the less we know about the outside, the more we feel like we're with him.
Okay.
Where we don't know anything. So if the more we know, the more it doesn't feel like we're seeing the story through his eyes. So I think that's probably why they didn't give us a lot of info. And so when we get sent down the maze of like into his house and then through a secret room into a underground fucking maze death trap, it's like a surprise. You're like, son of a bitch, that was in our neighborhood. Like it probably could have been a little bit more elaborate and it would have been more effective.
And that was all probably on a set somewhere.
Sure, probably. But the characters, to get to the base of that first question, like the characters, I think what have stuck with me with this movie, and have made me like go back to it multiple times is that I look at them as very somewhat relatable, but also just fun people that I would want to spend time with over and over again. Shia LaBeouf's characters, I just think the comic timing between him and his friend are just gold. And I just have a good time watching it every time. I don't know. It's one of them things. It's hard to explain. It's a lot of these movies will be like that. It's hard to explain to people why a movie works for you. I get a lot out of it. As like a fun enjoyment watch that I could go over and over again.
Andrew, do you get that kind of enjoyment like Steven gets? He gets this where he goes over and over and over, and he gets this. Do you have that kind of enjoyment with this?
Now, before he says that, I don't. Like I said, I hadn't watched this in like 5 years, so obviously my rewatching of anything has kind of gone downhill since I got married. I used to watch things over and over again because I had the time, but now I spend a lot more time watching new things.
Same thing.
I used to do that. Like The Dark Knight was in the replay like all the time. That was always on.
You know what's crazy? Same. I'm similar to you, but different context. I used to rewatch things all the time. Like you were saying, The Dark Knight, when that came out, I saw it in the theater like multiple times. When it came out on DVD, watched it over and over again, Blu-ray over and over again. You know what I mean? But then like kind of how life has gone on, I was like, I want to watch new things and I want to experience as many new movies as I possibly can. So therefore I don't rewatch things as much anymore. But it's very interesting kind of like, because the way we're kind of structuring movies down memory lane, we're almost trying to like put ourselves back into the mindset of when we first watched something. So my 2007 mindset watching Disturbia would be a lot different than now.
Yeah.
But like the way Steven is kind of like having difficulty explaining, it's like, how do you explain how you felt back in 2007 versus now? You know what I mean?
Like you said, I probably felt relatable to, like, I was a
Yeah,
horny,
and it's like
a horny teenager.
I can't relate to that now,
Well,
but
I'll
I
tell
can
you right
relate.
now.
I can see how I could relate to it because I was that once. You know
You
what I
know,
mean?
Look, what was it? What, 2007? So 2 years, it will be 20 years old.
No.
Yeah.
So if I would have written a review about this back then, I would have given this a positive review. Like you said, 3.5, 4-star review, because it takes something that I love, puts a new twist on it, and it's got good acting and good performances and stuff, and it's good filmmaking. It's really, I mean, considering he's stuck in that house most of the time, it's not easy to show all those angles and all that. So DJ Caruso really does a good job. So I would have given this 3.5, 4 stars, like you said, Steven. This I would have got a good review out of it. I would have given a good review for this movie. You know, back then
I tell you,
I was doing it.
We should all give like a favorite scene before we get into like your where you stand on the movie on the philometer, which I don't have that here right now, so don't worry about it. But the philometer is a meter where we have 4 selections. You go from not for me to it's good. I'm trying to remember. Obsession is where I'm at, of course.
Obsessed,
yeah. Obsessed is where I'm at, and yeah. So before we get to that, get into like a favorite moment in the movie. For me, I got 2 things. First, the cop in the movie that is the cousin to the teacher that Shia LaBeouf hits. The cop that's kind of like in charge of like keeping an eye on Shia LaBeouf if he ever crosses the line or anything like that. He gets it so wrong in this movie because he's just doing his job. I mean, yeah, he might be adding an extra layer of like bias in this, but he gets it wrong when he gets his neck snapped by David Morse in this movie. And like, I'm just like he wasn't really that bad. Like he could have been worse to Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah.
I mean, he even gave him the benefit of the doubt when he first breaks into David Morse's house, and he thinks he has a dead body, but it's a deer. It's a dead deer.
Yeah.
You've given him a lot harder time, but he didn't. So I'm like, man, for them to just kill him, I'm like, they could have like knocked him out and he was like alive at the end or something.
Yeah, he did get the short end of the stick on that. I just like the fact that after he's like kind of playing the video games, he's doing the stuff that a kid would do, sequestering, eating the Twinkies, making a mess. His mother's like, do your laundry, clean your room. And that's when he looks out and he sees the girl next door and he sees her. And it's like, oh, man, she's hot. All right, I got a whole new hobby here,
Well, yeah, I mean, he goes into like when his friend comes over, he goes into a whole like, let me show you everybody around me, and like shows him even shows him David Morse out there mowing his lawn for the 50th time that day.
Yeah, the guy across the street cheating on his wife with the maid and stuff. He finds a whole new hobby of looking out the window. That was like, oh, okay, here we go, the rear window. Here we go.
Andrew, any favorite moment?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of maybe a little too easy, but when he first starts becoming suspicious of his neighbor, when it's the straight up homage to Rear Window, where he's looking out the window and he sees his neighbor pull up with the busted car, which is similar to what he heard on the news. And he starts becoming suspicious, and then there's the night where the David Morse character brings the woman home. And then you see the woman kind of running away, but then she also like drives away. So it's like a fake out. It's the moment of the movie where you start questioning whether Shia LaBeouf's character can be a reliable narrative or not, or maybe he's just saying things because he's going stir crazy, or things something more disturbing than what they appear. So it's very similarly close to Rear Window in that regard, because even in Rear Window, there's questions as to is Jimmy Stewart seeing what he's actually seeing? And then you go down a whole investigative road. So that's kind of when the Rear Window stuff starts kicking in. Before then, you kind of have its own kind of original story of him like doing all kinds of antics and whatnot. But then the homage kicks in, if you will. that's when I think the movie really starts getting some type of form to it, which I think is probably around its second act. I feel like the first act is just him
It's set up.
getting set up, and then the second act starts
he
with
meets
that
the
moment.
girl. Yeah.
And then we start kicking into second and third act stuff.
Yeah.
But that would be the moment that I really like, when the movie starts taking form.
Yeah. There's just a lot of comical moments that I just love. I mean, there's a moment where like there's these kids in the neighborhood that they know that he's stuck inside, so they know he can't leave, so they keep fucking with him, and so like they put a bag of shit on fire on his doorstep, and he goes for it, he steps on it, and he's got shit all over his, and so he runs after him for the first time, forgetting that he can't leave, and then he doesn't quite get back to the yard in time. And just like that's the comedy stuff that he's so good at in this movie. Like he gets back to the yard, the light on his thing goes back to green, and you think he's okay, and then the neighbors are like, "Are you okay?" And he's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm green." They don't know what he's talking about. And yeah, just little things like that. Just little bits. Other things too, along with that. I think this movie has some good needle drops. Good soundtrack. One of my favorites, and I put it in the kind of advertising for this episode. Kings of Leon have one of their early songs, "Taper Jean Girl," which is one of my favorites in the soundtrack. It's I think not only in the movie but in the closing credits. So, but they got other songs like they got some Chuck Berry in there. Of course, Afro Man's "When I Get High" is in there. That pops up when he's like stuck in his room and he has nothing to do, and you hear that on, and you're just like, yeah, it's a perfect song for a kid at that time.
Perfect.
That's the literal first song that's referenced on IMDb. When you go to the page for Disturbia and you go to soundtracks, it's the first song that's referenced there.
Exactly.
That song was played.
It's perfect.
That song came out when I was in middle school, in like 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, Afro Man was pretty. He was big at that time.
Yeah, and that song was played for years later, and it was referenced years and years and years later. So it's kind of like a one-hit wonder. But
Kevin Smith helped that song.
Probably.
He's got a couple songs. Colt 45 too.
Yeah,
there's another one.
Yeah,
Colt 45, 2 zigzags, baby.
I remember that song.
That's a good one too. But so yeah, I mean, guys, I want to know where you're at. I'm obviously obsessed with this movie. I love this movie for whatever reason. I just love it. Where are you guys at?
What's the 2 in front of obsessed? I forget.
That's where I was forgetting. Let me see if I can bring it up here.
Philometer.
I got it. Here
the philometer, if you will, because I'm probably not quite at the obsessed level.
Me neither.
If you
I wouldn't expect you to. I don't think I would expect anybody.
Yeah, if you would have asked me this in 2007, I would have been upset.
I respect it. Good
it's
stuff.
Good stuff. I think it's good
I'd
stuff.
say good stuff. I was going in with probably I respect it, and probably I went up to good. It's good stuff. I may have went in with good stuff and still on that good stuff.
Okay. The reason why it gets me to good stuff is because it's rewatchable too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not a long movie, so it's not hard to rewatch in terms of a time commitment. It's entertaining, like you said, maybe a little dated in terms of cultural references and whatnot, but that's fine. What movie isn't? And yeah, I think it's ultimately rewatchable. It's an hour and 45-minute thriller from the mid 2000s.
Not wasting a lot of time.
No.
It could even be tightened up a little bit, but I think honestly it could have used. If they would have utilized some of the time to do some other things, it could have been a better movie in general, like an objective.
Well, like you're saying, flesh out Carrie-Anne Moss's character, David Morse maybe a little bit more. Yeah. But I like that they kind of kept him relatively creepy and mysterious.
I think that the mom stuff would have helped the movie better. Like there would have been a few more, maybe a conversation or two more about. Like between them and talking about their dad. I'm sure that stuff happened in the year.
Yeah, that year time frame jump. There was probably a lot of good stuff in there that they just didn't.
Maybe even the 2 high school kids. Maybe the other 2 high school when they're in high school. Like she references stuff that goes on at high school while he's stuck at home. But I always thought it was that during summer. So she's a
realtor. So she's
the girl.
He's talking about the love
I'm
interest.
talking about the mom.
No.
Oh, but Dan
the
is
high
talking
school
about the
girl.
love
The
interest.
high school girl.
The girl. I think it's not school time. I think it's summertime.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because she says something how she met a girl from school and then he told her who
I
the
mean,
girl is, and so
yeah, maybe it's near the end of the school year or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
yeah,
because he's under house arrest for like
skinny
months.
psycho is the girl.
Yeah. So she meets a girl at school, then she gets her to come, and then they do the party.
They had the party.
I would have liked to have seen maybe how those characters, the buddy and her, have a little bit more. But I know it's away from him, so you're taking the story away from him.
They're not
he's
trying to
the main focus.
Yeah, they're trying not to take the perspective away from Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
I think that's on
But I
purpose.
think the whole idea is to kind of keep the focus on him, his journey, what he's literally seeing. So you're put in his POV constantly.
Yeah,
because we don't go off on adventures with Grace Kelly in Rear Window. It's not.
No, but she does go across the street to the apartment. But I guess he's watching, so
he's the one watching her. So yeah, you don't really switch perspectives very often. But,
yeah. So that's why we don't learn more about David Morse either.
And you know what? Honestly, it doesn't bother me. As you know, I still love this movie.
Yeah.
So Andrew, where did you follow? Again, I didn't.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Okay,
I'm at the good stuff.
That's I love that. I love hearing other people loving this movie, at least in the good stuff area. And I'll take it. I respect it. That's fine. I can understand why this might not be enough for some people, but I think it's a kind of a little hidden gem. I think if people want something that kind of plays homage to a classic film that people really love, Rear Window is typically looked at as a top film of all time. So if you want to have a little fun with a little more updated John Hughesy version of that, go for it.
And the thing is, we see so many reboots, sequels, reimaginings this day and age, and they don't do it right. This did it right in a way where you justify a remake of a classic film.
This is how you would want to remake a movie or you want to update it for the new times, a different spin, a different angle is what you should do when you do remakes or reboots.
Exactly. That's why we don't need remakes of the same movies. We don't
and they didn't call it Rear Window, they called it Disturbia.
No, they even called it a new name, which is even better,
Yeah. So awesome. So that is our little discussion about my pick, Disturbia. If you haven't seen it, go try it. I think it's. Did you guys watch it on streaming? Is it anywhere?
On Fandango at home, I owned it. On Fandango at home.
Okay. It's probably a pretty cheap Blu-ray. I'd love for this to get an updated 4K.
It used to be in bargain bins all the time.
Let me look real quick, Stephen.
I think Andrew's.
Yeah, I'm looking at.
I got Tubi. I got Apple for $4, Fandango for $4, and Amazon.
Tubi
for $4.
is all we need. Tubi is something that most people have access to.
Tubi is for free. Yep.
So Tubi if you haven't seen it, it's a good little hidden gem, fun watch. I would almost call this a slumber party movie. It's like a fun, kids can watch it. It's not too. It's like PG-13. It's not.
Now, would you watch it during, let's say, October for Halloween, or is it not quite as horror enough?
It would be like the opener. It would be like an opener. It wouldn't be like the main event. It would be like one of the ones I'd watch in the first week of October. Because it's like got thrills, but it's not really like scary. I would watch it for entertainment value.
That's the one thing I wanted to, man. Do you think it lacks like the blood and gore and the kills where it could go to that next level, Stephen, where you're obsessed with it, obviously?
Yeah.
But me and Andrew, like it's good stuff. But I feel like if it went to the next level on the kills and the blood and guts, maybe it would be an obsessed. Where do you feel on that as far as that stuff goes?
Just like Rear Window, we didn't have to go that far with that movie either.
Okay.
We love that. I think that would have been distracting. I think that if we would have gotten more violent, it would have just been an unnecessary, like it would have just been for the shock value. It wouldn't have played much of a, because this is such a suspenseful, more of a suspense film and not about brutality. Because that's the thing is when we have movies like that have a lot of violence, we got to remember that violence is put in the movie for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not just to be shocking. Sometimes it is, but most of the time the violence is there because we're trying to say something with that violence. We're trying to, let people know that, it's almost like a voyeurism thing too for us. Like, how comfortable are we with this?
We did get the splash of blood on the window, and then the blood dragging down the steps and into the.
It's PG-13 blood. Yeah.
So
it's
because
not
you don't
directly,
see anybody get killed. Yeah,
it's not really a direct seeing many dead. There's like some dead, skulls and shit in the water.
Yeah.
It's like Indiana Jones stuff.
Yeah. They want to make it accessible to multiple audiences, not just adults.
And that's the audience that knew Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
Was the young people.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
But I hope people haven't seen this movie find it, and it's a fun one. So next week it is Andrew. We're back to Andrew. Do you have a movie picked out?
I do have one picked out, and I thought, since we've been going down this movie down memory lane journey, I thought it was time to get into kind of a childhood staple, probably for many people listening, or probably many people in general. So I'm going to go to the classic age of Disney, the golden age of Disney. Going to go to my favorite Disney movie of all time. First time we've delved into animation of any kind. I'm going to go with the classic, The Lion King from 1994.
Nice.
It's a movie I've been obsessed with since I was 7. So there you go. So that's what we'll get into next time. A movie that, I feel is so timeless. So we'll be getting into all of that. And I know people have been.
Oh, that's another one. That's another movie.
Wrong movie,
I know that.
Yeah, I was gonna say. People have been clamoring for like that old Disney feeling. You know what I mean? Especially with Disney now kind of struggling, trying to.
The 90s are 30 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah, this movie is 31 years old. So it's gone through several generations since it's come out.
Yeah.
An iteration.
And we're in this phase right now where we're remaking all the movies in a live action form.
Yeah, in quotes. And this one has gotten not only the live action treatment, but they did a prequel sequel. Yeah, prequel?
A prequel.
Prequel, yeah.
Yeah. So they've gone back to that well a couple of times. They've also done animation sequels as well. There was a Lion King 2. There is a Lion King 1.5. Which tells the perspective of the story from Timon and Pumbaa's perspective. I believe that's what that was about. But yeah, it's very interesting what Disney is doing with their classic franchise over the last few years, where they've not really gone the sequel route, they've gone the reimagination route. With some success, mostly misses though, I would say.
I mean, you could probably say that for the most part, it's financially successful.
Well,
but
yes,
critically successful, not so much.
Even audiences don't seem to be too.
They did one this year with Lilo and Stitch,
right? Which people were not happy with.
I actually liked it, but it was also very financially lucrative. They did.
Yes, it was. Yes, it is. And I think it made Disney realize that because they haven't done really much with that franchise. A lot. I mean, they made
20-something years.
They made a sequel. I think straight to video once upon a time, and then they did a TV series, Lilo and Stitch TV series. But other than that, they haven't really touched that franchise much until now. And then lo and behold, it makes nearly $1 billion. So
yeah.
All right, that's going to be a good conversation. I can't wait.
Yeah, because it's going to be different perspectives. Because Steven and I'm assuming both saw it when we were super young. Dan, of course, saw it when he was, in his adulthood.
He was an old man then.
No,
I didn't want to say it.
91, 93. What is it?
94.
You were in your 20s.
Yeah, I was 20 years old.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what adult perspective would be at the time, seeing that in the 90s.
I have a very good perspective. You guys can be interested to hear what I have to say about that.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
Some weird ads. I can't wait. It'll be something weird. I know it will. But that is it for this trip down memory lane with Disturbia. Please, of course, once again, go subscribe to the Chasing Labels page if you haven't already, or you follow us on our either Spotify or Apple Podcasts to get the audio versions. And of course, Dan over here with from the front row. from the fourth row. You don't want to sit in the front row. God, it's terrible. From the fourth row, where you can check out all his reviews. And of course, that review show that I was talking about with him watching every Survivor show. If you want to go watch somebody talk about,
I'm not rewatching every Survivor, just certain ones.
Yeah. So if you want to go watch him and his twin brother talk about that stuff, you should go over then and check that out. But with that said, thank you for coming down memory lane with us. Watch your movies and talk about them. Good night, guys.
I will. No, I will.
You ruined that, man. Thank you.